Okay, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harachakwadash. Double honors to the Apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to all the Akim who are listening to these videos. Alright, so I'm going to make this video. It's going to be a little bit about the, Esau's vaccinations. And so I got this article from the Clover Chronicle, because this thing had happened recently where NBC, they got caught posting fake news once again, and the fake news was pertaining to vaccines. This video is good. It's going to have a little bit of so-called conspiracy theory things, but I'm going to show you how some of it's really based on fact, because, how NBC right here, their website, they had posted this on the 15th of April, and it says, nurses who vaccinate anti-vaccine myth, dispellers talk with Lester Holt. And, NBC is run by the elites, the Rothschilds. They pretty much own all the all the industries, including the media and all the news. So they control everything. So anything that they push out, it goes with their narrative. Like, they give the stamp of approval before they let it out to the public. And so, this was posted on the 15th, and I guess the video they were showing, it had this clip right here of a stock photo of a baby, and they photoshopped it to make it look like it had a serious case of measles. It says, nurse battles vaccine myths as measles outbreaks hit 555 cases. And so, you see this on the Clover Chronicle, and you want to fact check and see if it's really true. You go to the actual NBC article, you can't even play the video. Luckily someone saved the clip of it. I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's only a few seconds.
Tonight, America on track. Its worst measles outbreak in 25 years. 90 more cases in just 1 week.
So take it as you will, because this right here is in the conspiracy theory area, because this is the 23rd of April. That video was posted on the 15th, so we're only using what we can. But the spirit, Esau is just putting his narrative, spinning the narrative of vaccinating your kids, because he's doing that for the betterment of mankind, pretty much, when it's a lot of damn bullshit. Because one thing, when you're in this truth, you have to take all this information, you have to put it all together. You have to eat the whole roll, and part of that roll is reincarnation. And you got to ask yourself, back in the days with the Native Americans and the Edomites, when they came here to Europe, what were the Edomites doing? They were giving blankets with the measles and a whole bunch of diseases to the Native Americans to so-called help them, but in reality it was to kill them, to eradicate them. And those people died, and their offsprings reproduced, and then here they are again through reincarnation. So they're out here, they're doing the same thing that they were programmed to do back in the day and in today's time, which is poison you through deception. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bring this priest out, because as a Hebrew Israelite, you're not supposed to do cuts in your body. Like what they do here is they say, oh well, your baby's sick, so if we inject them, if we prick his body and we inject him with these things, he'll be better. But the Lord, He made all illnesses He made all herbs and minerals to help you for ailments. So like if you were sick, you would go to a person who knows what herb you need to take, and then you'll take it. There's one thing too, is like in the world, ginseng. Let me pull that out. So, if you go to Wikipedia, the Wikipedia for ginseng pretty much says that it doesn't really do much. Let me see if I can find it. It says right here on the ginseng Wikipedia, it says there is no substantial evidence that ginseng is effective for treating any medical condition, and its use has not been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Now this is a root that the Heavenly Father Yahweh made. But over here you got Esau, the FDA. He's saying that ginseng has got no medical benefits. That's a load of BS, because ginseng's pretty rare because it takes a while for it to grow. But speaking for myself, ginseng's really, really healthy root. So it's one of my favorite roots to eat. But over here, the FDA pretty much says it's got no benefits. Yet the benefits that they want to give you, let me see if I can find it. I'm not going to read this article, but I'm just going to point out, this is based on their facts. This is the Telegraph. They posted this article about a book that this guy wrote, and it said, well, this is the title of the article. It says, "Drinking Rat Brains and Burgling Labs: How Scientists Invented Vaccines." So you got Esau in the picture here, and pretty much the way he so-called invented a vaccine was through drinking rat brains. And you got to register to read this article. And I read a few of it when I was at work. And pretty much the scientist, he pretty much wanted to scam the elites because he had made a really strong, potent disease through the act of drinking rat brain, because the tissue of the brain was infected with the disease. So he blended it up and added some elements, like I don't know if it was mercury or whatever. You have to read the article yourself. He drank it so that he can test the sickness. Because the thing that doctors did back in the days, they always tested a thing on themselves before they did it on anybody else. And so he realized that it was a potent disease, and he tried to flip it and try to sell it to the government. It's an interesting read, if Aki want to read it. But so here's the law according to vaccinations, or so-called pricking, with a needle. This is Leviticus 19 and 28. "Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord Yahweh." And this is talking about it's for the dead, but pretty much it's saying don't do any cuttings on your body, don't do any tattoos, don't do any imprints, marks, don't brand yourself when you're in college, because those are the ways of the heathen. Because if you're ill, you have to go to the herbs. That's something that the FDA doesn't so-called know about. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this article here on the Clover Chronicle. It says NBC's news caught faking photo of baby infected with measles. In an NBC News article titled "Nurses Who Vaccinate: Anti-Vaccine Myth Dispellers Talk with Lester Holt," in a 2-minute long video, a photo of a nurse holding a baby that had allegedly been infected with the measles virus. It says this particular image originated from website Dreamtime. It is royalty-free stock photo that was created by users called Doctor Holding Beautiful Newborn Baby Background Clinic. It has a stock photo pretty much, and it has the watermarks of if you're like a company who needed to use pictures, like if you were making movies or you work at the NBC making fake news, you would go to these companies and you would pay for these photos, so they give you the original photo without the watermark. And they got caught red-handed. And you can even tell like this is really bad Photoshop. You can see the pixels and everything. They just copy pasted it. They didn't put any effort. It says some readers weren't too happy when they realized NBC was circulating a doctored photo relating to an ongoing measles outbreak and anti-vaccine myth. People are saying it's fake news. That's effed. I'm not even anti-vax, but the idea of the government forcing you to inject your children doesn't sit right with me, based on principle alone. And the fact that they faked this to encourage more vaccination really makes you think. Yeah, it really makes you think. So it says, it looks like the mainstream media got caught lying to us once again. They were doing updates. People were finding out that the pictures were doctored. And update number 2, it says, it appears that the featured video on NBC's article has stopped working, on our end at least. Tried multiple browsers. And we already exited out the website, but pretty much I had found like on the internet the video. But take it as you will. I believe it was they really doctored it, and that's real. And I don't got no time machine to go back on April 15th to prove it. And so as I was doing this research, I had found this picture, and it's a picture of like an episode of the Brady Bunch. I'm just gonna go through because the episode of the Brady Bunch that aired back in the 70s, like the kids were getting in trouble because they were purposely getting sick so they could skip school, and that was the whole episode. But the sickness that they were getting was the measles. So it says, in the 1960s TV show The Brady Bunch, we get a view of how Americans felt about the measles before mandating the vaccine. A little boy rushed to school and he finds out he's got the measles. Mom tells dad he's got the measles, so they go home. Pretty much the whole Brady Bunch gets the measles, and then they're at the house playing board games. They're having fun because they're not going to school. Now, so here's the the conspiracy theory thing about it. If you go on Hulu or Netflix or whatever, it says right from episode 12 to episode 14, the Amazon Corporation censored the Brady Bunch for not being terrified of measles. And so in 2019, Amazon banned this episode from the Brady Bunch. It has been memory hold. It's their A Doctor in the House, season 1, episode 13. So pretty much, for a while they were pretty much using this thing, but then they realized that during the times when they were using measles as a scare tactic, to control the elites, they had to take this episode down. And pretty much it took a while for them to take it down because they did it in 2019. All right, so I'm gonna read a few more precepts, because one thing about this too is the reason that Esau wants to inject their babies with all these diseases is because it's ultimately population control. But like right now, since it's 2019, their Photoshop didn't work. They took down the Brady Bunch episode, but people caught wind on why that specific episode got taken down. People were making fun of a Penn and Teller video. I'm gonna play that next. So it's pretty much because we're at the time of Esau's reign falling. So like right now he's controlling the world in wickedness, but his time's about to be up. So basically all his philosophies, all his magic, they're coming to naught, because they're not gonna have use for it in this world anymore after their final reign. So this is Micah 5:12, and I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. I'm gonna go ahead and read up on the top. I'll start at verse 8. I'm gonna read this real quick. It says Micah 5:8, and the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many people, as a lion amongst the beasts of the forest, as a young lion amongst the flock of the sheep, who, if he got through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. Verse 10, and it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, that I will cut off thy horse out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots. And this is talking about Esau, and those horses and chariots are basically his military power. Verse 11, and I will cut off the cities of thy land, and throw down all thy strongholds. And like in in other precepts you can get, because Esau's not going to be able to build anymore, because all his cities are going to be nuked. And so it's verse 13, thy graven image also I'm going to read verse 12 again. Verse 12 is, I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Because the media being the medium that the Edomites used to enslave and dumb down the world, that's not working anymore. As you can see in the news, like they're trying harder and harder with all these fake news things. Like that one kid who came out says that he's 19 years old and his mom's an anti-vaxxer, so he went to go vaccinate himself. That's a whole fake news article, and I ain't got proof of it, but through the spirit, I believe that article specifically is fake news. So verse 13, thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing image out of the midst of thee, and thou shalt no more worship the work of thine hands. Because in the kingdom, there's not going to be a need to lie to the heathens, because if a heathen is sick, he's going to know that the Hebrew Israelites, the ones after all this chaos and calamity that happens, like they're going to be on a high level that like whatever they say, they know it's going to help them and benefit them. Because we're not going to have a lab and we're going to inject the heathen nations, with brains. Because is one thing, because I used to do IVs. Like I would practice putting IVs into a person, and pretty much like if you're drunk and you inject a person with an IV, you're pretty much just hydrating them. So it's pretty much a so-called faster way of drinking water to rejuvenate yourself from being drunk. So injecting yourself is pretty much the same thing as eating something, because those elements get put into your body and they go through your heart and all your body, your liver, it filters it all. So eating rat brains, that's not kosher. But leave it to Esau. Alright, so here's a quick, I'm not going to read this article, but just to point out, it says, Is it illegal to refuse to vaccinate your kid in New York? This court says yes. And I'm not going to read the whole article, pretty much because Esau knows his time is almost up, so he's trying to do as best as he can to fulfill his New World Order. And he's pretty much making it illegal to deny a vaccine. So real quick, this is Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And they're prescribing a whole lot of BS with these vaccinations. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up this video from Penn and Teller. Let me see if this is the one. I'm going to play this one first.
Penn, and this is my partner, Teller. You may have heard vaccination causes autism in 1 out of 110 children. Fuck that. Total bullshit. It doesn't. But let's imagine it does. We'll compare 2 groups of children. Teller's group gets no vaccinations. My group does. I'll use this plexiglass to represent the vaccinations. Oh, that's bad. My vaccination wall knocked 1 of the children out of line. That's our 1 in 110 with autism. In the 1920s, before the diphtheria vaccination was common, there were 13,000 to 15,000 deaths a year from that disease. If you got it, your chances of dying were about 40%. In 1952, just before the Salk vaccine became common, there were about 58,000 cases of polio. If you get unlucky, you might end up permanently disabled or dead.
Alright, so here now, those little balls that he has, he's pretty much naming off a whole bunch of random diseases. And so so specific, he said polio. So specifically, this article came out in 2009. It says polio vaccine blamed for outbreaks in Nigeria. So that polio vaccine started, multiplying and spreading out. Because, with that so-called vaccination, you're literally injecting either rat brain or monkey liver that's infected with polio or whatever disease, and it's like supposedly like the mentality and the science behind it is that virus is weak and sick, that you put it inside your body, and then your body gets used to fighting polio, so that when a person with regular polio comes around, your body's used to it. Well, that's a little BS, because you got proof here that polio virus literally just, spread it around like herpes. It says Emily had been vaccinated against meningitis, but doctors say the strain she contracted is not covered by vaccines in the U.S. A little boy died from meningitis.
Hepatitis A and B.
This one says 11 infants deaths now linked to hepatitis B vaccines. So whatever was in that vaccine, it was just too much for those kids.
Flu. Flu.
This was this 14-year-old kid. He died from the flu despite being vaccinated for the flu. Same thing with this one. This one too. They got the flu right after they got the flu shot.
Mumps. Whooping cough. Pneumonia.
So you pretty much get the idea. All these diseases they're naming off, they're being funny in these clips. Like right here, he's throwing them at the so-called vaccination wall, and he's throwing them at the people who aren't vaccinated. But in reality, there shouldn't be one of these. If anything, this big glass of vaccination should fall off by itself. Then he should start throwing those things. And right here we got quotes of certain people. So yeah, this guy, I don't know what this guy's, but it says, it is nonsense to think that you can inject pus, and it is usually from the pustule of the dead smallpox victim that it is the basis of it. We used to think it was from cowpox, but the manufacturers deny that and say the most reliable form originates in the pustules of someone who had died from the smallpox. It is unthinkable that you can inject that into a little child and in any way improve his health. Yeah, because that's madness. The whole thing about vaccinations is just straight madness. And only Esau, the Red Hebrew Edomite, can think of something like that.
Tetanus. All of them. Which side do you want your child to stand on? So even if vaccination did cause autism, which it fucking doesn't.
So clearly, definitely.
And this part, it's funny how because these Edomites are paid out. And he's saying that vaccines don't cause autism.
Did cause autism, which it fucking doesn't.
And so like as if he knows for a fact, like he was there in the science lab, and like he did the tests. Let's just assume that Mr. Penn Teller here, he was there and he did the test. Like he compared 50 kids to another pair of 50 kids, which one's got autism the most. And this was on C-SPAN right here.
So clearly, definitely, unequivocally, you have studied vaccinated versus unvaccinated.
We have not studied vaccinated versus unvaccinated.
So, ultimately, Mr. Penn Teller doesn't know because no one has did those tests yet. You can't do those tests. I'm pretty sure Esau's going to sneak some child porn on your computer and arrest you before you bring out the truth on his ass.
Anti-vaccination would still be bullshit.
Are you going to listen to Penn Teller's bullshit on vaccinations? Alright, so here, quiz. This video is going to speak on the ingredients inside the vaccine.
From the CDC.
Fuck! Their manual must be huge!
These are the ingredients that are actually in vaccines. Aluminum hydroxide, brilliant green dye, DNA, egg protein, calf skin, chick embryo, mouse brain.
Alright, it says, monkey kidney tissues, mouse brain. Now, can you imagine if you were, in the ancient world and you had like a fever and you go to the person who's well versed with the herbs and he tells you to go eat a rat? Let's say that you're a Hebrew Israelite talking to another Hebrew Israelite Levite, and he says, oh, make sure you eat according to the law. Oh, you're sick? Oh, I know the cure. You have to go eat a rat. That's pure madness, and it goes against our scriptures. It goes against our way of our heritage, so to speak.
Formaldehyde.
Wait a minute.
And then gelatin too, where she's pointing at. So most of these vaccinations, not only do they got rat brains, they got pork in them.
Minute, back up. Did she say mouse brain?
Mouse brain.
Excellent.
Formaldehyde. These ingredients don't belong in a vaccine. They belong in a satanic ritual.
Fuck her! We got that same page, and ours is much bigger. We're gonna put up these giant post-it notes on all the points where Wendy is fucking up. Formaldehyde. Ugh. But it stops the virus from reproducing and making you really sick. Get that up there where it belongs. Aluminum hydroxide and mouse brain.
Alright, so he's over here trying to because that lady pretty much exposed their asses on these in the ingredients inside here, and he's over here, he's doing damage control. So formaldehyde, that sounds crazy, but it makes it so that the virus doesn't reproduce. So it's good that that's in there. Don't question that. And then here comes the question of mouse brain. Oh man, why do you got mouse brain in the vaccinations? I know it sounds crazy, but here's why.
Eek! Mouse brain. They stimulate antibody levels. Oh, and you.
Oh, so they stimulate antibody levels. Alright, so I'll leave it at that, so this video isn't too long. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Harakwadash, and Shalom Akim.